My name is George Avidon. I'm with Mark Twain Library. I am the director of technology. We have a great group who uses, we have a great peer AI group that we've been having conversations about how we use AI and how we are looking to use AI. So one of the things what I thought was interesting to talk about is creating a custom GPT. If you have a plus account in ChatGPT or higher, you have the opportunity to use custom GPT. So this is a kind of a straightforward 20-piece slide deck, and I'll just kind of run through it and answer any questions that we may have. So custom GPT is in ChatGPT, and why would you create a custom GPT? Useful when you find yourself, your staff, or your organization repeatedly going back to the same information to answer the same types of information, to answer the same kinds of questions. Instead of starting from scratch each time, a custom GPT can be built around a specific set of documents, instructions, or internal knowledge so that users can get more consistent answers. Think of like a FAQ, just really central to your organization. And it's a great way for reference purposes. So common use cases. So for example, you have repeated question about the same information. If let's say there's a form in your workplace, it's one form, let's say 75 people need to access it, and you have repeated questions about it. Great opportunity to create a custom GPT, and you load in questions into that custom GPT that you can access. And your staff, colleagues, it's just a nice way to interact with it. Um, if you frequently reference the same handbook or guide, if staff often ask similar questions from an employee handbook, policy manual procedure guide, or internal reference document, a custom GPT can help make that information easier to access and understand any time of day. Maybe someone subject matter expert is not available. This is a wonderful way to create that. Maybe you're launching a new product, service, or process. If you anticipate needing a frequently asked questions resource for a new web portal, software system, event process, registration, or what have you, a custom GPT can serve as a guided support tool. And if you have internal documents that you always want to have answers to, a custom GPT allows you to provide specific reference materials so that answers are based on your internal documents rather than general internet information. Also, this custom GPT, you can classify it or tell it to not access outside or public domain information. That's also a nice way of using custom GPT. Okay. So how do you create it? You want to think through the process a little bit. So you identify the need, what problems we're trying to solve. Let's just say we need a reference guide for a new form for the organization. That's a really clear need. You want to identify and isolate the information that you will be sharing, gather the documents, instructions, forms, guides, or FAQs. Be selective. The goal is not to upload everything. The goal is to provide the right information. Just remember, it's if you've heard of the term RAG, but it's kind of a boiled down RAG. So garbage in, garbage out. You really want the information to be exactly what you'll be using. Avoid sensitive information. This is obvious, but really important. Do not include personal identifiable information, financial information, private or organization information, confidential staff, patron, donor, or customer data, anything that should not be broadly accessible to users of the GPT. Think through the questions users may ask. Pretty straightforward. You know your staff, you know your colleagues, maybe it's board members. You want to go through those questions and see what would be frequently asked. You want to create supporting documents. Be methodical, be direct, be clear. You want to create as much documentation to provide to the custom GPT, keeping in mind nothing private. And you'll upload those documents. So for example, if the GPT is helping users complete a form, which field, what each field means, how each field should be completed, examples of correct entries, what to do if the user is unsure. The better the source material, the better the custom GPT will perform. Decide on the tone of the custom GPT. This is really important. Through doing a few of these, you really want to let the custom GPT know, do you want to be direct or no nonsense, or do you want to be supportive? Do you want to be more formal, or do you want to be a little bit more casual? So that's also important. You can set that tone up through the custom GPT. And then you begin the create the GPT process. You want to name the GPT, you want to create clear instructions. There is a space where you can upload the supporting documents, and you can upload that in an unlimited way, the supporting documents. The one thing that we have found out is the instructions, you're limited. So the instructions should be very concise, but the supporting documents, you can upload images and documents and so forth. Um, you definitely want, my opinion, you definitely want to avoid doing web searches, and you want to give it examples of the types of answers you expect. Um, Test the custom GPT with real questions. Try simple questions, difficult questions, and questions that users are likely to ask incorrectly, and revise the instructions and documents. Look for incorrect answers, vague answers, overly long answers. Look for tone issues, places where the source documents need improvement. Share initial version with colleagues. I constantly do this. I work with wonderful people and I always get great feedback. So ask them to use it naturally and provide feedback. This step is important because other people may ask questions differently than you expect. And then, of course, when you launch the GPT, once the GPT has been tested and refined, it will continue to be refined. Please keep in that. To continue to review feedback and update the documents or instructions when procedures change. Key takeaways, a custom GPT is most useful when it is built for a specific purpose, based on reliable internal information and tested carefully before being shared widely. The goal is not to replace human judgment. The goal is to make repeated information easier to access, easier to understand, and more consistent for people who need it.